Hello to this new Cyberpunk video. My name is Holy13 Gaming and today we're analyzing the Rides of Night City trailer frame by frame and really in depth. So if you don't want to miss anything, buckle up because there is a lot to talk about, like all the details about street races, the photo mode, 29 rides and their variations, car destruction and a lot more. Unfortunately, I still couldn't get rid of my mild cold, so please bear with me on this one. Night City Wire 4 was really impressive, at least to me. What did you think about it? How did you like it? Did it get you excited for all the cars and motorcycles? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm not really a car enthusiast, but I have to say this episode kind of changed my mind about the cars in the game. I thought I wouldn't care that much, but they all look really great and they're designed very well and there's a lot of thought and a lot of attention to detail that went into them. So that makes them kind of really special and makes me want to chase them. So I'm excited about it. And the trailer Rides of the Dark Future was really nice too. Let's just start at the beginning. In the first shot we get a great overview of the highway. That's just really massive. I mean, look at those many streets and overpasses. Night City had a big problem with population density, so it eventually grew bigger and for sure you can see that in the streets too. Also, this is a shot at dawn or dusk, at daytime at least, but this will look really great when it's nighttime, I'm certain. Here we have a great shot of the Yaiba bike. We know those already, that was the first bike that V was riding in the trailers. But what really stands out in this image, to me at least, is the beauty of RTX. And I think that's one thing we can see all around the trailer. RTX will enhance the quality of the image and the quality of Night City so much. In this shot here we can see a street race taking place in the middle of Night City, with the glowing anchored railway tracks in the back, which are changing lights every few seconds. Also, a very good display of RTX in the game. What I'm also really curious about is how those car races will be playable. Will they be only occasional events or are they tied to certain quests? Are they like little quest markers on the map where we can just show up at a specific time and attend the race? Are they a one-time thing or is it repeatable content? I definitely hope the latter, but I'm not sure about that. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Also, what's really interesting is that the police seem to be somehow involved in those street races. At least they're not stopping us from taking part in them. What's also really cool are those LEDs on the sides of the police car. And also the number plates of the cars, of every car in Night City, are LEDs. So that's just a nice detail again that just sells the whole Cyberpunk theme. Here we've got another street race in the Badlands. We've seen that already in the Gangs of Night City trailer. So if you missed my detailed analysis of that video, feel free to check it out. I'll have a link for you down below in the description. In this beautiful shot of the Badlands, we can see V on a motorcycle from the manufacturer Brennan. This is obviously the Nomad variation of that motorcycle, and here in those two screenshots you can see two other variations. This next shot is taken from North Oak with a great view above the city, and I suppose we'll be coming here very often to show off our new rides in photo mode. When the sun is going down and you can see the city and the lights and the cars and the traffic buzzing beneath you, that's just a really romantic and beautiful view that lets you escape the chaos and the craziness of the city for a few moments. This next shot is looking like it is taken out of a CGI movie, but nowadays you can't be sure about that anymore, so it could be very well taken from in-game footage, maybe with the photo mode. But then again, this is a moving image, at least the camera position changes, so maybe we'll get something like camera zooms and pans in photo mode, like in Ghost of Tsushima, and that would be really great and amazing. I really hope for that, but I don't believe it until I get the official news about it. And here you can see two of the most expensive cars in the game, the Rayfield Caliburn on the left and the Rayfield Erendite on the right. But I'll get to those in depth later on in the video. In this collage you can see 9 of the 29 cars in game, so 29 have been confirmed in an earlier developer interview. 29 different cars and lots of different variations of those cars. So if there's only 3 variations per car, you're looking at around 100 different cars to collect. And I suppose that number is even higher. Here we got the interior of one of the Rayfields, and look at that leather and suede seat. That looks so good. But one thing that caught my eye is the standard seatbelt we use today, that those are still present in the Cyberpunk future. I would suppose, I don't know, that people are getting magnetized to their seats instead of wearing seatbelts, but I guess buckling up is still a thing in 2077. Here we got a really nice shot of the most iconic car of Cyberpunk 2077, the Quadra Type 66. And I really love the holographic trees in the background. Here we can see V riding a Yaiba bike in first person view, and I'm not a really big fan of driving mechanics in first person, but they look really smooth here in Cyberpunk. And as we enter the city, the barely illegal neon sign made me chuckle a bit. I guess everybody who grew up in the 80s can relate. And in this shot we can see the inside of the Rayfield Caliburn. A really nice detail is that the windshields aren't made out of glass, they're actually LCD screens, as you can notice on the scan lines that are present. In this shot you can really see that there are ads everywhere, especially the big sign of DTR, Decker, Tanaka and Rogers gets my attention because that's a manufacturer of one of our in-game motorcycles. Here we've got a shot of V dressed as a Tiger Claws member on a motorcycle somewhere in Haywood. And this next shot of V riding a bike on a highway is one of the shots that really impressed me the most. It seems like they have really nailed the driving mechanics. Look at what speeds the player drives past the cars, but yet it still looks really smooth and good to handle. And this is the POV of the Brennan bike. And I really dig how the weather effects look like. The rain, for example, it just looks perfect. What also seems to be a thing is that driving gets a lot more slippery and harder to control when it's raining. And I'm also not sure if this is a car chase or if it is a street race, because they said in Night City Wire that you always have to bring a gun to your car races. So it seems like there's a lot of shooting involved in those races too. And this shot from the Badlands is definitely from a car race. I mean, look at those glowing pillars in the distance. Those are probably some checkpoints you have to pass through. But what is really interesting are those hexagons right next to it up in the air. I can't imagine what this will be. Maybe something you have to shoot while passing it? At least that's what I'm guessing. Let me know what you think what that could be in the comments down below. And here we've got our first shot from a sandstorm in Night City. That looks really amazing. You can't even see 50 meters in front of you. So I guess that will be really exciting when the first one hits you. And here we've got another shot of the DTR S1. And again you can see that there are ads everywhere, even in between the lanes of the street. So be prepared to just get hammered by ads. And another really futuristic and cyberpunk detail is that there are no pedestrian traffic lights. They're all just built into the street. And now we're finally getting to the core of the trailer. Now it's all about the cars and the classes they belong to. Starting off with the economy class. That's the class typical for anthropism, so for all the poor people in Night City that can't afford a fancy ride, and definitely also for V at the beginning of their journey. This is the car that doesn't break your wallet and gets you around. This is one of the 5 categories of cars in the game, and then there are also motorcycles. In the next shot we can see the heavily tuned Thornton that we already know from the Nomad Life Path trailer. It looks like some kind of Volkswagen to me. But next up is definitely one of my favorite cars in the game, and I think one of the cars I'll be driving around most of the time, and that's a Mai from the Japanese manufacturer called Makigai. I mean, look at that thing, it's so cute and it's so adorable, but it still gets you everywhere you want to go, so that's a really cool ride to have. The Thornton Colby is the classic all-American family car of the 1980s, reimagined in a cyberpunk way. And there are some pretty nice variations. The car's overall style is kitsch. The Archer Hella is Cyberpunk's version of the classic sedan. With its glass windshields and old-school swing doors, it is the typical anthropism car. And here's another shot of the Volkswagen-like Thornton I mentioned earlier. As you can see, Vehicular Destruction is still a thing and will be in the game, as we've seen it now many times in different trailers. A cool thing in this shot is that you can see the folding doors of the Mai, how they swing up and then fold. And in the after show, the devs also explained how stealing cars will work. Essentially, when you're stealing a car that is parked, you will have to invest skill points in your tech tree, and as soon as you're good enough and you learned the skill, then you can steal those cars. And on the other hand, when you want to yank somebody's car like seen here, then you have to invest in your strength skills, so you can pry open the door and yank somebody out of his car. Here you can see some really low-level street-style cars with some typical Valentino tunings. And this gets me personally really excited. Obviously you can steal and drive around in police cars. And another thing that was really interesting that was mentioned on the after show is that when you steal a car, you don't right away own it. You can drive around as long as you please, but as soon as you leave the car, it will disappear again. In order to keep a car and to be able to summon it whenever you please, you have to earn it through gameplay or by buying it. Next up is the executive class. Those are bigger and heavier limousines, the perfect car for any high-ranking street gang member and the lower rank corpos. So those are your typical kitsch and neo-militarism cars. Just like the Vilford Alvarado, for example. This kitsch beauty in gold and red is the ride of the Valentino's gang's fixer, El Padre. And we already know that it will be possible to buy or to earn this car at some point during the campaign. And the Vilford Cortez is the typical town car and absolutely textbook kitsch. It reminds me a little bit of the old school Chrysler. Here on the wall to the left you can see the Tiger Claws Turfs graffiti. And the Chevillon Thrax is a really nice looking car and definitely one that the corpos would drive through Night City with. It somehow reminds me of an old Cadillac. And I absolutely love the asymmetrical designs of some of the cars. It shows that in Night City in the future it's really cool to be different and edgy. And here we've got another shot of the interior of the car where everything is made of crocodile leather. Really nice. In this shot there are several things going on. First of all, we see a taxi version of the Thrax with the 6th Street logo on it. And what you might have noticed is that throughout the trailer some of the cars leave trails behind them or ghosting. And the developers already came out on Twitter and said that that's a bug which is already fixed in the final version of the game. And another thing I noticed is that even on the highway there's advertisements above the road, so they will be absolutely everywhere. Next up, the heavy duty class. And that's everything ranging from a regular construction site truck to a toxic waste disposal truck to a military grade fort on wheels. And I suppose those will be a ton, or maybe 10, of fun. Meet the Kaukas Bratsk from the Soviet Union. This 8-ton truck is a monster and can practically ram and carry everything. The Kaukas Siva seems to be a little bit quicker and a lot more agile and versatile, as it can be used for many different tasks. Here we can see a truck called Beast, and it seems to have a charm on its grille. So this might be a special version of a certain truck that we can earn in-game. And may I now introduce you to the fort on wheels, the Militech Behemoth. This monster of a truck weighing in with 9 tons is practically unstoppable. No wonder that also Arasaka is using it, even though it's made by their competitor. Oh look, there's a Maelstrom roadblock ahead. Yeah, no problem for this little beauty. And now we're getting to the exciting stuff in the trailer, the sports cars. Those are the Mustangs and Corvettes of Night City, and of course they are perfect for your every night street races. Starting off with the most iconic car in the game, the Quadra Type 66. This Mustang-ish muscle car comes in lots of different styles. Your Anthropism Junkyard version, your sturdy Nomad version for the Badlands, and of course your stylish and colorful street style kitsch version. It weighs in at 1.7 tons and comes with devilish 666 horsepower. But the even lighter Mizutani Shine with its sliding doors also gets me very excited. Those sports cars just look like they're adding a ton of fun to Night City, and I can't wait to collect them all in my garage. And of course your typical Lamborghini sports car has to be in the game. This would be the Quadra Turbo R. It is as light as the Mizutani, but packs the same punch as the Type 66 with over 600 horsepower. And two really cool things happen here in this shot. One thing is the bullet from the guy to the right flies between the tires and underneath the car to hit the ground right there. And the other one is that the tires and the suspension of the car react to even the tiniest curb on the road. That again to me speaks for the overall quality of the driving mechanics. And here again we have two different races in the Badlands. I really wonder how many races will there be total in Night City. I don't really know, but I'm hoping for at least 10. And you gotta love those mirrors, which aren't mirrors anymore, but just cameras that project the image right into the car. Like I mentioned before, I'm not that big of a fan of first-person driving, but in Cyberpunk I can see myself hopping into first-person more often than not, just because the interior of the cars is so beautifully crafted. It's really amazing. The amount of detail that went into it is just absolutely mind-blowing. And now stick with it. North Oak will be the most epic location for amazing sunset beauty shots. And this is what you've all been waiting for. Last but definitely not least, the Hypercars. The absolute tip of the iceberg, latest in tech and finest in style and elegance. Those are the rides of the neo-kitsch elitists. A funny detail in this shot are the overhead street signs. I guess the example text will be replaced until release, if not already. The Herrera Outlaw is one of my favorite cars in this trailer just because of the backlights alone. Those look so cool. And yeah, I think you can guess it by the logo. This is your typical Jaguar. I can imagine that the Rayfield Caliburn will be one of the most sought after cars in the game. I don't know, just a hunch. With its swing doors and the Crystal Dome windscreen, this car is absolutely top of the line. Crystal Dome means that the windscreen and the windows are replaced by bulletproof LCD screens, so nobody can look inside and you can see everything around you projected onto the LCD screens by cameras. Pretty badass, and of course also pretty expensive. And the Rayfield Erendite is even more expensive. In the trailer they talk about only around 1,000 people in the world being able to afford this car, so you probably won't see many of those on the streets. And it definitely gives me Batmobile vibes. And of course, there is this. Johnny Silverhand's 911 Porsche. This car was built in 1977, so it will be exactly 100 years old when you get your hands on it. The amount of detail and dedication that went into creating this car was absolutely worth it, as you can see. Definitely a car I'm looking forward to. But that's it for the trailer analysis. They also released a ton of new screenshots, and most of them were made with the in-game photo mode. If you enjoyed this video and my deep dive analysis of this trailer, then a rating on this video would be very much appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this for Cyberpunk 2077, then please consider subscribing to my channel and don't forget to activate the little bell icon so you'll be notified when I upload my next video. But that's all from me for now. Thank you for watching, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.